Hello, everyone, and welcome to She's of Love. Now, today is another very, very special episode with the one and only Morgan. We are so honored to have you on again. And today, the topic of conversation is about healing physically through spirituality.
A
And
good topic. I love this.
yeah, and the reason I bring this up is because I've personally have had many experiences where I've healed physical things like colds to huge phobias with spiritual or more mental techniques. And also just in terms of like my relationship with myself has been healed completely with spirituality. And I know I've gone on a couple of Zoom calls with you in your circles, Morgan, and I've heard you speak about things online. And I just think you have so much wisdom to share about this because honestly, just listening to you heals me in so many ways. And that's not to put any pressure on you. I'm not trying to, uh, you know, you know,
There's pressure.
yeah, but just by you being yourself, you give so much to others. And yeah, so I think the first question I have for you that's come to me is do you have any like personal stories about how you've personally healed something within yourself through spirituality and what was kind of the process of that for you?
Yeah, I have actually. I've thought about like when you said what the subject was, and I remembered that probably 25 years ago, after I had my daughter, so longer actually, I had hideous coccyx pain, and I went to everything that I could ever think of going to try to heal this pain, except woo woo stuff. I didn't go to kinesiologists, or actually, I did go to kinesiologists, but I didn't go to people that did, energy work. And I could never ever find anyone. And then I had that awakening, that instant with Merlin in 1999. 1999 it was. And Merlin came through, didn't do any healing on me at all, but then started to teach me in the following months how to heal it myself. So I was taught to go into my coccyx just through my imagination and stand in the center of it and have a look around, move any energies there. I had a full blown conversation with my coccyx, understood why, what the energy was there, why it was there, all that sort of stuff, and it was healed. The next day it was healed, and it's never ever been back. And I couldn't believe it because I mean I'd literally spent thousands of dollars over the years trying to have this fixed,
Wow.
and that one session by going in and treating it like it was an entity, a being, actually, it spoke back to me. And between the two of us, we completely healed it, and I've never ever had it again. So that was one really great example of what we can do with energy.
Yeah. Wow, I had
Sounds so simple,
yeah.
doesn't it? It sounds like a really simple thing to
It
do.
is. It is. And more often than not, the more simple it is, the more powerful it is.
Yeah, right. Wow.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say I've had similar experiences but with more trauma side of things, not so like physical pain where like I visualize the trauma and I go into the trauma and I just allow the trauma to play out in front of me
Hmm.
and I communicate with the trauma and the trauma communicates with me and I come out of it feeling a lot better and a lot more healed in more of a mental and also actually physical sense too. I feel a lot better too. So yeah, it's I when you said treating it like a being instead of a cog in the machine is really the most powerful thing that I think we can do just in a bigger scale as well when it comes to our planet as well,
Yeah,
not
so
just our
true.
bodies. because yesterday we were talking with our previous guest, and we also were mentioning how like the trees are beings, the soil is a being, and that's my version of that's my aspect of respecting nature. How I see I can respect nature at the highest level is by treating it as many beings that are a part of one consciousness instead of just soil and trees and just the planet that we live on, you know?
Yeah.
I think this is a really good point, a really good piece to pass on to our children. Like, if we could have something in school, or even if parents made a point of passing this information on to our kids,
Yeah.
and they grow up talking to the trees, talking to the flowers, having conversations with parts of their bodies, and having that special relationship with themselves and with nature, I think that one piece would transform everything for everyone, you know, because I think that's so powerful.
Yeah.
I
Imagine
don't
all our kids who, you know, imagine a whole generation of children who were raised like that, and within one generation the planet would be a completely different place.
I think that's what we're doing at the moment. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we don't have to use it for, you know, energy stuck in the body. We can also use it. I did this course about 10 years ago, over 2 years, and I hadn't been to school, you know, for already 50 years, 60, 70, it felt like. When the assignments came up, I was 100% blocked. I had no idea what I was going to do at all. And I was late, and I kept like making excuses and trying to extend the time. And I was devastated. I loved the course I was doing, but I was not going to be able to do the assignments. Then my higher self said to me, just create them with the golden particles. And so I did. I closed my eyes and I imagined the golden particles come up, and I watched the assignment create itself. And on my life, on my own life, I woke up the next morning and I typed like a maniac for 5 hours and got this assignment in and sent off. And so I used it for every assignment after that, and I got credits and distinctions for
Wow.
everything.
Wow.
So you just needed to figure out the process for you, your unique process of writing that. That's
Well,
amazing.
I think it was even more than that. It was trusting that whatever we create via our imaginations, or, you know, our art or our creativity, it manifests into reality, especially if you do this sort of stuff when you're in a good space. I mean, I really struggle if I'm down, and I can't do much for myself at all, which
Yeah.
probably the time I need it more than any other time. But
Yeah, it's true.
yeah, I think when we realise that we're actually able to manifest in that dimension, it has to come through. Like when I was in America, and any time Todd and I were together and intimate and just cuddling, if the love build up was so strong, the whole room filled up with these golden particles, and they would say to us, "Where do you want to send these golden particles to? What do you want to create?" So it
Wow.
works. But yeah, imagine teaching this stuff to our little ones.
Yeah.
I think that can be translated also into, you know, healing as well, because Mum's saying earlier that you found your way of through the system, and also that way through the system allowed you to flourish in outside the system too, and you found those golden light particles in everything that you did. And I find healing to be a very similar thing. The way that you heal might not be the same way that other people heal, and that's a real challenge at first, because you have to find out how you heal personally. And it can get quite like frustrating, I find, at least for myself, because I see other people healing and I try what they're doing and it doesn't compute with me. But when you take, this is why I love this topic, because when you take a more spiritual approach, it's taking it at the highest possible level ever. Because like other than golden particles, what else do you have above that? Like I really don't see there being much. Yeah.
There is. That's one little, one tiny little thing we can play with.
Yeah.
Another great example that, that you could play with too is once I got past that and started realizing how powerful energy was, then my higher self taught me to connect into what was called a morphic field. Because I said at the time, I want to learn my own way.
Yeah.
My own most powerful healing for me. So my higher self showed me a morphic field in that space of what I was to learn.
Yeah.
And so I would dream every night and I'd wake up 101, 201, 301, 401, and I would have just worked on another client and worked on it. And I was being taught. So this morphic field was almost looked like a cloud in space. When I stepped into it, I just breathed in all of that energy, and it's energy. We can do anything with energy that we want to. The energy either vibrates at a lower vibration or a higher vibration, simply asking and waiting for us to give it instructions.
Wow.
Yeah, everything is energy, I think, and we have once we realize we have control over that, and we can change it and morph it and make it into anything that we want. We were having a conversation with actually Lana a few weeks ago, and she said something that relates to this, where um, when someone is sending you negative energy,
Yes, I
or well,
remember
negative
this.
is kind of the right word, but darker energy, um, instead of mirroring it back to them, you can take their energy and turn it into light and use it for your own good, or maybe even send back that light. You can do whatever you want with this energy that's given to us every day. I know for me personally, going out into the city can be really difficult because I feel that energy being spat at me all the time. But when you take the intention of using that energy that's thrown at you and uplifting it and turning it into light, you have all that extra energy for good and to energize yourself, maybe, or to, um, do whatever you want. And I think the the same can be said for healing physically your body. Like, I think that especially the golden glittery light is a really good example, because that's just energy that we're putting intention into, and we can put that anywhere we want. And putting golden light on an injured body part, you come up with very interesting results where it doesn't usually hurt as bad, or it feels a lot better. So yeah.
Yeah, Morgan, what you were saying about the golden light particles, I've experienced similar where you're in that state of bliss and you feel that beauty all around you. You can feel that it's like a warm blanket, and it's
Mm.
like, oh, I feel so good. I'm so cozy in this beautiful light. And there have been times where I've been thinking to myself, I wish I could take this feeling and give it to people, like wrap it up in a little gift and give it to people so that they can share it with me and they can feel what it feels like. And so essentially what you're saying is that that's possible. You can do that. You can
Yeah.
take your golden light particles with you and you can use it and share it and spread it around and create with it, which to me at the time, I consciously didn't know that, but there was a part of me that was wanting to go in that direction, that was feeling it and wanting to share it and make it bigger. And so to me it's like, oh, that's when you were talking, it was like that's what that was. That was that feeling that I was having. And such fantastic news to me now consciously that I can learn that skill and do that for myself and for other people, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
I should have actually been a little bit clearer, but as you were talking, it was like, no, this is actually what happened. That
Yeah.
room would fill with those golden particles, and we'd say, what do we do with these? And they would get us to bring it into ourselves. And that went on quite often in the beginning. It wasn't till later on, I think it was about 9 months later, and I went back over there again, and it started again. It started like bring it into yourself, bring it into yourself, and then that goes into your field. Too many of us get something like that, and we think, I want to share it with somebody else. I want to share it with someone else. It actually works in reverse. So it was a while before then the golden tree came, which was Sology. So we had to send the golden particles to that at times as well. But
Oh,
yeah,
beautiful.
we can use it for whatever we want. We can create whatever we want to. We really can.
I love that. So essentially, what you're saying is like the analogy of the oxygen mask. You give it to yourself first so that you can then spread it out. That's the process of it. You bring it in and then you hold it in yourself and then you allow it to flow out into the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Which is similar to self-love. That's when you're giving yourself that, you're filling your cup, you're filling your reservoir up with self-love, and you're full of all of that beauty and motivation and everything that you're feeling in that moment. Once you're full of that, then the overflow can be shared.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're filling ourselves up with self-love first, unconditional compassion or unconditional love.
Yeah.
And we're igniting that energy within ourselves. We practice it for a while. So, you do it numerous times and then you start creating new neural pathways that make it a new programming.
Yeah.
So you can't really know service to others until you really align with service to self.
Yes.
Mm.
Wow. Can you clip that, Juliet?
Yeah.
Yes. Amazing.
Yeah, that's really and that's actually what kind of confused me when I first entered this
Me too.
spiritual space, because there was those two phrases being used to separate, I guess, those who are wanting to harm and those who are wanting to heal and grow and help the planet, and it was service to self and service to others. And I always didn't fully resonate with that, because it's important to
Have service
have
to self.
service to self.
Mm.
And I think that's what the hardest, I think that's why so many people aren't healed, because it requires service to self. Sometimes it requires a week of isolation and self-care straight, of taking that off work, or
Sometimes more.
yeah, sometimes more, yeah.
Mm.
And that's just something that is really difficult for a lot of people. I know, myself included. So it's interesting how in the spiritual community, even service to self has been put in a light of almost evil, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yes. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
And it's not. Service
It's-
to self is not. It's necessary as part of the process.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we're pretty useless. If we don't have unconditional love for ourselves, then how can we truly have it from another? And if you think about healers, we all come into this and we want to share it with everyone. We want to go out and heal the world, but more often than not, we're robbing another of finding the way to do that themselves.
Yes.
So when we start thinking about, I'm going to send all my light to this person, then you stop and you think, well, actually, this person might be like me. I like to work it out for myself. I get a real kick when I sort through something with myself, or even speaking to another and they're just reflecting back to me. But I like that. So I think all this sort of stuff is dropping at the moment. We're really being pushed into alignment with unconditional compassion, unconditional love for self, and remembering that that we are the center of the universe. So everything comes from self.
Yes. So true.
If I'm truly serving myself, then I can start trusting myself and believing in myself and all that sort of stuff. Then I become a reflection of that, for anyone else. And it works both ways, of course. I see people and I'm like, oh God, you pick up on their frequency. Yes, I would love some of that.
Yeah, it's a gift. That's how I see it. It's the way I gift it to the world, is when I'm doing it and people can see I'm the example. People see oh, Claudia's doing that. I think that's great, and I want to do some of that stuff for myself, or I want that in my life. And they go out and do it. And I'm like, yes, like some people would be, oh, they're copying, or they're, like there would be that energy around it. No, I don't feel that way. I feel good on that person for getting up and seeing that they can have that because I have that. I've given it to myself, or I've done it in my life, or I'm creating this thing, and they're inspired by that and they go and do something similar for themselves in their own
Yes.
unique way. And I'm like, good on you. Like that's what we need. We need more of it. There's so much room in the world for all that creation. There's so much room. There's no lack. Lack
Yeah.
is a lie.
Yeah.
There's room for me, there's room for you, there's room for everybody to show up for themselves in
Yeah.
whatever capacity they they wish. And I feel like when we inspire that in other people, that's the gift that we're giving.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I love this conversation. It's so amazing. I love all of this stuff because it really breaks it down into simple terms of I think how we can choose better for ourselves, how we can choose better for the world, and how when we are choosing better for ourselves, that changes the world, that changes the energy, and that creates more healing in a spiritual way in my mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, amazing.
So I think in terms of questions, do you have any questions for to ask?
I'm actually, Morgan, are you okay if I have a look at our Facebook group? Because I knew there was some people who were tuning in, and I just want to see if they've commented. So let's have a look. Yes. So we have Rachel watching. Hi, Rachel. She says energy is everything. Subatomic particles all vibrating at different frequencies, creating different forms of density and matter. It's truly fascinating, yet so sad we've had it hidden from us. Being you is the gift, and you do share it every week. Oh, we do. Thanks, Rachel. That's amazing. So, if anybody is watching and they want to ask a question, please do.
Yeah. I think I'll ask a question while we wait.
Yeah, go for it.
So Morgan, I know you've been kind of on a journey for like a spiritual journey for a while, and I think you've gotten to a point of like kind of knowing what you're doing with everything. Maybe not, but maybe
Maybe knowing a bit more than us.
yeah. Yeah, so I think my question would be to those who are at the beginning of their path, or maybe not even the beginning, but just in a place of struggle with healing physically or healing mentally in whatever capacity. What would your advice be to people who are struggling right now to heal through spirituality, or even just in spirituality in general?
It's my personal opinion only. So, this for me, I think the most powerful thing that we can all be doing at the moment is gathering and making groups with like-minded people and working it out in the groups, allowing yourself to become a fractal of that group, like an actual fractal of this thing that you've created, and bringing those minds together and learning with each other. I mean, I just can't think of anything more powerful than that. Like starting to live and act like we're part of part of the whole, and I'm just one tiny little piece or a fractal of this whole. So if I can bring others in to learn with me, and we all start doing it together, it's like conscious. What do they call them? The people say I'm part of a council. It's like conscious councils actually getting together for the same reason here now on Earth.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. Yes. That makes so much sense because my experience with meditation is that when I meditate in a group, I can get there more easily. I can get to the place
Yeah.
because the energy is stronger and the intention is stronger. One intention shared by many individuals is so much stronger in my experience than just my intention on my own. And that meditation is always better and further and bigger and more vivid. So,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Because
I agree with
now
that.
you're operating as a one, and you might have 12 people, and all their minds, their codes, their frequencies, their shadows as well, but their gifts and skills and tools. And while you spend time in that space, in this group environment, you're actually all openly sharing codes. Unless you think you've got an issue or a resistance or a blockage with somebody, but you find the right group, and all of that stuff can just start dropping away really quickly. It is. It's very, very much like a cosmic council, and it's energy work we do can be very, very powerful. But when you've got 12 others all doing the same thing, covering all these other fractals or mirrors of yourself working on the same issue.
Yeah.
We did a circle last week for a lady who, about 2 or 3 weeks ago actually now, a lady who'd suffered shocking sexual trauma through her whole life, gang raped at 15. And when she went to the doctors, in her early 20s, they put her on very heavy medication. And every 12 months or so, that medication wasn't enough. So they gave her more. And I think she's on 5 or 6 different medications now. So we as a group said, let's bring this person in and we're all going to work on this person. Now, this lady spends 3 to 6 months a year in institutions because every time she tries to lessen her drugs, she'll start cutting it. It all just comes back. So I think there were 19 of us turned up and we all worked on this one lady. Within a few days, she has to have somebody sleeping at her house because she can't sleep and she's so frightened. Within 3 days, she let us know that she started sleeping better.
Wow.
A week later, she said that she had 5 to 6 hours a day, that she had zero anxiety. I think the following week, she actually went away with a friend for the first time in many, many years. It was working, it worked. But what was really interesting is anything that like I would say, can we check her mouth? Can we check her breast? Can we check her vagina? Can we check her own? Anyone in the group, and I believe that 18 of the people in the group had some of those experiences, where they thought they were working on hers, they were also working on their own. So every fractal in that group that did some work benefited all of us there.
Wow. That's so powerful. And it's something that I think that when you come together with a common piece in your life, so she had sexual trauma and everybody had that in some capacity.
Bar one, yeah.
Yeah. So you come together because you have that commonality. I mean, even if you don't have the commonality, but in this case, there was a commonality. So that understanding of each person that had been through something similar was banded together like sort of like a laser beam, all shooting into the center and creating one really strong intention. The the power of that, in my imagination, the power of that is immense because I've never been in a situation like that. But with my group meditation, if I apply the same principles and the power that I felt in that group to something like this, that was a life experience, I mean, it's unimaginable how much healing could take place, the potential of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this lady who I've known since I was 5 years old could barely function. I mean, the improvement in her every week has just been phenomenal. But we actually set it up. You know, we sent beams of light into the center. We put her in the center. It became a massive, magnificent, big column of light. And every person, you know, that was a part of that conscious oneness, that playing in conscious oneness, thought they were working on this person, but it was being done for the whole group. Now, had you been there, if you haven't had that experience, you might have brought in the coding of a healthy sexual beliefs or programs, or like, it didn't. It doesn't matter. Whoever's
Yeah, right.
everyone's codes are going to add to the experience, and every single fractal who's a part of that, if they need it, they receive it.
Love it.
I resonate with that from previous circles that I've been to, and like it really when you collectively heal with others, it's like a supercharged experience. Because everyone's energy is going into the portal and everyone is receiving, say, it's 8 people, 8 times the energy that they could ever give to themselves.
Yeah, it's energy work on steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been in a situation where I've experienced it through meditation, but hearing you describe it, Morgan, the way that you've explained it today here has given me a deeper understanding of the effect of that, and broadened my knowledge base around how it works, and that information has motivated me. It's made me excited, and it's giving me like all sorts of ideas about how it can be utilized and how we could create something that can have great healing power in the world.
Yeah, but beyond healing power too, also for something like some weeks we'll put a dream in. Everyone's invited to put their own dream in the center, and we work on focusing on the dream. You know, we turn it into an atom or something like that and focus on the dream. Everyone's got different dreams, but we all come away and then we share afterwards what we did, and the 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 sameness, the similarity, of the experience. So now I know that, okay, I might have put a dream in to do this particular thing, but that person was working on this part of it, and that person was sorting that bit out. Because when you do it, anything that's blocking you sort of starts to dissipate, you know, within the column of light and move away as well. So now I've got 13 people who in some way are working on helping me co-create and manifest my dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And also you're helping them, and it's just like a
And helping
symbiosis.
yourself.
Everything that I'm doing for myself, I'm doing for every other fractal in that conscious space of oneness.
I noticed this as well because at work I work with lovely people who definitely are on a different path in terms of like spirituality. At least they're not spiritual yet in their lives. But I am, and I've done a lot of like healing and a lot of work on myself so far. And there would be times where I would have conversations with my coworkers, and I could feel that when I was doing healing on myself, the intention was to heal myself. But when I'm having these conversations with people, that knowledge that I've learned and gathered throughout my experience is given to them in some way, like by the questions that I ask them, or through my own talking about myself. That's another thing I realized, like when I talk about my own healing and how I healed a part of my own mental health or physical health, and I talk to other people who may be looking to heal in a more medical way or something, they receive what I'm saying, and I think they open themselves a little bit more to the possibility of that more spiritual type of healing. And sometimes when I'm having conversations with these people at work, I can feel that they are healing themselves with the information or the questions that I give them, and they see more of themselves because they open to receive what I'm saying, and it's just by opening to another maybe scary, you know, thing that someone else is bringing to the table,
An idea.
an idea, a scary idea. Thank you. That someone is bringing to the table, that if you just open yourself up to receive it because you feel like it's meant to be,
It resonates.
then I can feel them healing themselves with that.
Yes.
And I think that's what we have to keep doing in order to continue growing this new earth.
But that's just you being yourself, because if I know Juliet, and I know her pretty well, when she's in conversation with people, I mean, you are so yourself that it comes out in that conversation. So when an idea is presented and you give your opinion or your idea to them, that's just you being you. You're brave enough to tell the truth and say how you really feel and the ideas that are in your brain.
Yeah, but it's not about me though.
No. What I'm
it's-
saying is that you don't even have to try to show up and be that.
Yeah, but neither does anyone.
That's the point.
Yeah, neither does anyone.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm talking with these people not to try and heal them. That's
Yes,
not my intention.
that's the point.
I'm just talking about my experience, and that's how magical
Yes.
things happen. Is when you have an intention that is so pure that you're not even thinking about what you're going to get out of it, or
Yes.
what anyone's going to get out of it. It's just, I want to talk about this because I feel right now I feel right now to tell this, and that's what I'm going to do. And if anything happens, and you're not even thinking about what will happen, it's just this is what I'm going to say right now. And
Because you're
that's
brave enough to show up as you. You're not showing up in the world and putting on the mask. Because I know my mum used to say to me all the time, you've got to put on your happy face. And I used to work for Qantas, and we were taught in training that you leave your problems behind. You don't bring your problems to work. You put on your happy face. So it was a very, and things like, you don't air your dirty laundry in public and things like that. Like that was one of her favorite sayings. And so I got very good at showing up in places as a persona of myself. And, I would be very measured in the way that I would talk to people, or the things that I would bring to the table. But Juliet, one thing that I've learned from you, and that I absolutely love about you, is that how she can present her ideas in a way that are, I wouldn't say non-confronting, because they are very confronting ideas sometimes, but that people actually get interested in what she's saying because of the vulnerability and the gentleness and the realness and the beauty in the way she presents the information to people. And so, even as a child, you were like that. Even like little growing up, she's the sort of kid that, me and her dad might be arguing about something, or we couldn't agree and we couldn't come to the same conclusion or whatever, and Juliet would interject with one line of something, and we would both go, huh? Oh yeah, like that's actually true. And it was because it was her perspective, and it was like, oh, we just got a dose of reality. Like, that's amazing. And so I think that's that essence of you that you're talking about, we could all use a bit of that in the world and give that to each other. That, you know, we're showing up as ourselves, we're showing up in our vulnerability, we're showing up talking about our truth to people in a way that's it's not really pushing it down people's throats, if you know what I mean. It's showing our perspective through our own eyes, and I think people kind of go, "Oh, right, that's how you see the world," and then it creates curiosity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think also just as a collective not being so afraid to
yeah,
share your thoughts or feelings in general. Like I know there's so many times at work is a good example for me where I feel a certain way about something that's happening to me directly, and I won't say anything because I don't want to be a burden, or I don't want
rock the
to
boat.
rock the boat,
Yeah,
or I don't want to stir up any trouble. And
yeah,
that actually hurts me. And I think if I would say something, because I know in this particular example that, yeah, okay, whatever is happening directly to me. But that doesn't mean that other people, that are also working aren't also experiencing something similar in their own reality, in their own time where I couldn't see it. And so speaking up and saying, hey, actually, I'm not okay with this happening to me, it creates ripple effect, because I know it's happened where I've been in an observer to someone else speaking up for something they don't like, and it's like, oh, I can actually
yeah,
I
right.
can actually say no to that, and it
Yeah, which is what we're talking about, is when you
yeah,
are the example, you're living
yes.
your life true to you, and you are being the example, that self-love of sticking up for yourself
Mm.
or telling your truth in a conversation or whatever it is, then radiates out into the world. And I've seen at my work too where people have stood up for themselves, and I've gone, haha,
Mm.
you know, like, good on you, and made me feel better about being in that workplace, made me feel safer, and made me feel like people around here can speak up. So that's what I'm going to do too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit.
So
Oh, sorry, go on.
no, no, you go.
I was just going to say it's a little bit tricky because there's so many of us have been taught to be quiet,
Yeah.
be seen and not heard and all that sort of stuff. I feel like that this is all changing at the moment, but particularly for the feminine energy. And she's trying to push through those barriers to work out how can I speak up, at work.
Yeah.
Like it's a really big and scary thing to do, and
It really is.
it's 50% chance you'll be heard, or 50% chance you'll be meet massive resistance. So I think it's a
And
collective thing that's going on at the moment.
yes, and actually to add to that, I resonate so strongly with what you just said,
Yes.
because that is literally what's going on for me personally in my workplace, of risking saying something and meeting that risk with the chance of it being, um, deflected and
Or ignored.
ignored. And
Yeah,
a
whatever.
lot of the time, I don't know which way it's going to go. And I see that it's also happening with guys, especially who are more feminine in terms of confrontation. Or I don't want to say feminine, because feminine can also be very confrontational, but I mean can be a bit more soft and gentle, is what I'm trying to say. Because I also work with some guys who are very I don't want to say feminine, but they're soft and gentle, and they're not like very hard. And so I see it also in them, their struggle to speak up and to say no, or that they're not okay with something that's going on. Sometimes they're laughed at for like bringing something up, and it's really interesting to see and observe it happening within my own reality and within others. because right now it really does feel like the feminine is rising up, and I think it's a big mirror to the masculine a lot of the time. The masculine within women as well, the
Yeah, the
masculine
masculine within ourselves.
within ourselves, the masculine in men too. But yeah, it's really confrontation. I know even within myself, like my feminine is really coming up right now, and my masculine sometimes does feel like a bit what's going on and out of control. Because I know growing up when I was a kid, I had a lot of masculine like elements to myself, and in high school as well, like my masculine was really quite strong, and it was actually a really good thing, especially when I was really young, because I just didn't there was this hardness towards society, and it was like I don't care what anybody says or thinks about me.
Yeah.
And it was like a wall against what anyone thinks. I was just going to be, the masculine was kind of like within my being as a child, the masculine was like the wall around my femininity to be itself, because my femininity wanted to be like crazy. And then the masculine was like, okay, well, you can be crazy, so let's just not care about what anyone says if you want to be crazy. And then like growing up, that kind of, along with being in high school and being a teenager, it kind of warps, and it tangled itself up a little bit. And my masculine became very forward running, and now recently my feminine has kind of taken the reins again. And even just within my own being, it's like, what's going on? I don't know. There's some moments where it's like a huge battle of between my masculine and my feminine, and I see that outside as well, when
In the collective.
yeah, with women standing up a lot more and men not knowing what to do about it, and also within individuals themselves and their own masculine and feminine elements.
Yeah, the war within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just really interesting to observe this. I kind of see it as magnets that won't stick together, that are trying to stick together, and it's just kind of like,
Yeah, they just kind of miss.
and they can't. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
So, Morgan, I think, are there any questions on the comments?
There are a couple.
Okay, well, I'll let you go.
Okay, so this is going back to the healing power that we were talking about.
Like the golden.
The gold, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's actually going all the way back to the beginning of that process you were talking about, Morgan, where you went into your coccyx. Julie Pershin asks, if you had, Morgan, this is directed to you, if you had a lump in your breast and you wanted to love it free and alchemize it, what is the process you would walk yourself through? Would you start by going inside it and asking questions?
Yeah, I mean, I can't, I would make contact with it. So whether I go inside of it, close my eyes and I say, okay, I want to come into the center of this lump, or if I wanted to start outside of it, looking in, I don't think it really matters, but you just keep asking it questions, talking to it, asking it questions. What's wrong? We've got excess, and dealing with, I guess it's like you're acting as the higher self to another aspect inside of you. So you become almost like a mother, an older sister, and really communicate with it, and it will give you instructions on how to dissipate it. I think that answered the question, but
Awesome.
That definitely answers the question.
And then Rachel Narelle Rich says, Morgan, may I ask, what is your diet these days?
well, not as exciting as it used to be. All my dairy, like I have a chocolate milk when I travel, but all my dairy's gone. My sugar is gone from the 6th of June.
God, I couldn't imagine that.
Because there's sugar in everything.
That would be really hard.
We did a big group session. I think 75 people turned up and others purchased it afterwards. So they're still there as well. So we had 75 of us present there asking to find that pinpoint, that point of creation of the addiction to sugar. And it was phenomenal. It's not just me working on it for myself now, but there's 75 and we're all working for each other as well. And the stories that came afterwards, like one lady explained, which I got a big ping from, was she said that her addiction began when she went off breast milk and onto formula. And it became comfort food.
Yep.
Which is why so many of us, when we're in a bad state or feeling uncomfortable, we'll reach for those comfort foods.
Yeah.
We were taught from the youngest age, formula's filled with sugar. So is breast milk, but I mean, there's a big difference between natural sugars and processed sugars.
Yeah.
So yeah, my diet's very good actually. My diet's it's very good. I usually eat once a day, if and when I'm hungry, and it's usually, a big bowl of vegetables or a big plate of salad or something. But yeah, I'm still not back on the sugar, which is great.
Wow.
Are you craving it? Or did you go through that detox, or you didn't even have to go through the detox? It just was like cold turkey.
I waited for the detox because I gave up sugar last year and I had a migraine like for 7 days. It didn't come. So I'm convinced with so many people working on the same thing that somebody in there addressed, needing to detox or cravings. I mean, it was amazing. Now, I just sort of told a lie. God, one day this weekend was so intense, so incredibly intense, that I actually craved sugar nearly all day.
Wow.
And actually went out and bought a chocolate milk, and I bought a summer roll, because they're almost like a health bar thing. I couldn't eat it. I had like 2 or 3 little bites and I'm like, can't do this. I
It's
tried
too
it for a
sweet.
few hours. It was too sweet. So that was cool, but yeah.
Cannot relate. But I honor you so much. That's really incredible. That's one day I'll be there. Just today is not that day. Yeah, well, my diet consists of what I feel like in the moment. At the moment, I'm going through a lot of hormonal changes, and so I'm giving myself what I want in every moment.
But I think there's a place for that too, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like if you're finding comfort in food in certain ways as a temporary thing in your life, I think that's fine.
Yeah, no, of course.
I mean, if it's something that you're relying on forever, then no. But if it's something that it's just, oh, I need that at the moment because of this, or this, then it's a stepping stone, isn't it? It's not a place that you're living. You're not setting up camp there. Yeah.
And also, I think it's really good to explore what you're like when you communicate with your body. You'll find that your body is asking no to certain things and saying yes to certain things, and sometimes it's saying no to things that I know in my personal experience are healthy. It's saying I don't want any more of that type of fruit or whatever, and then it will say yes to other things like cookies sometimes, because I always ask my body, I always ask my body if before I eat if this is okay. And when I don't, I still give gratitude and I honor the food and I put love into the food, because there are times I must lie where I'm like, body, I'm really sorry, but mentally right now, I don't care what you have to say. and I mean that with the most love, but like there have been times
I'm
where it's
taking
like,
the wheel.
I have to have this, like I'm so mentally, and again, that's probably not the healthiest relationship with food, but it's a work in progress, and you're always learning and you're always growing, and as long as you feel good and you're not feeling like you're damaging yourself, and you're doing it with the right intention and you're putting love into your food, I truly believe that's enough to get you to the point where like the healed version of yourself, because when your intention is right, even though today you might be eating cookies and whatever junk food, when you maintain the intention, eventually you're not going to want those foods
Yeah,
anymore.
that's
If
right.
you grow that connection with your body, eventually cookies are not going to be something that you want to eat at all. But for today I want cookies. Yeah. Yeah, and I think food is a really interesting one when we talk about healing, actually, because food is like its own genre, especially when everything is like so chemically and like
Yeah,
so much
manipulated.
manipulation in food. It's a really deep topic. It's like just such an umbrella of everything, because I know even now with milk there's like things going on with the cows that they pump it with things and needles and just not fun things
Hormones.
and hormones. Just not fun. So I
Yeah,
think
and
just being mindful of it.
it's not just food though. I was talking to a holistic doctor last week, and she was talking about hormone disruptors that are in things like receipts. So the paper that they use and the ink.
What?
Yes. And when you're getting those heat treated receipts, they don't use ink on the receipt. It uses
Yeah.
heat. Well, the chemical that's in that paper to receive the heat, to create the marks on the paper, when you put them in your wallet, when you put them in your pocket, when you handle them, that chemical gets into your skin, and that's a hormone disruptor as well.
Oh no!
Like,
Don't tell me that. I work with those receipts.
yeah,
Oh god. Yeah. So it's in everything. There's no escape.
yeah. So it's not just food. That's the point
Let's
I'm
just
trying to
all
make.
run to a farm and live in the middle of nowhere and grow our own vegetables and fruit and food, and yeah, that's what
the
we've got to
dream.
do.
That's the dream.
Well, we've hit an hour
Yes.
basically, pretty much. Do you feel complete? Is there anything?
I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
good.
check.
Is there anything you wanted to say, Morgan, at the end?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, I'm feeling complete too. So
That was a lot. Like that, you've given us so much today, and it sparked some excitement in me, and I'm so grateful for that, because I've been asking some questions that were answered today. So
cool.
for me, so yes, wonderful. Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you very much. It was lovely to come on. It was good to come on.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
All right,
thank you, everyone.
Have a
Oh,
great-
sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you probably next week.
Not probably. We will.
Yes, next week.
Mwah.